Well, thank you very much, Alessia, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Steffi, for having me here today. Very excited. So as I said, we're here to talk about trust in technology. So before I get into the main part of the presentation, I want to just take a moment and ask, why do we care about trust? What is so important about this? Why has trust actually been repeated over and over again in the past day and a half at this conference? And so we believe at Edelman that trust is important because it's at the heart of an individual's relationship with an organization and its leadership. We also believe that trust gives companies the license to operate. So if you have a company that is trusted, it is more credible, it's more likely to be able to introduce new and innovative products, and people are more likely to speak on the company's behalf, even if the company gets in a little trouble. So trust is incredibly important, and we think it's a strategic priority for companies today. So in fact, we at Edelman think trust is so important that we actually have commissioned an annual study to study the state of trust around the world in 4 different institutions. That's media, business, government, and NGOs. So this year was the 2019 Trust Barometer. This is the 19th time we've done this study, so we definitely have done this a lot. We surveyed 33,000 people in 26 markets around the world to understand what they think about trust today. So let me give you a little overview of what those survey findings came back as before I get into trust in tech. So we actually saw a modest rise in trust across all 4 institutions this year. So in NGOs, business, government, and media, there was a slight rise across the board. So now let's look specifically at the technology sector. So we believe that the tech sector actually stands at an inflection point in 2019. Some of the data that came back was actually surprisingly positive, as you'll see, and some of it was not so positive, which we'll also talk about. So let's get into the findings. So what we can actually see is that technology remains the most trusted sector in business. It's more trusted than automotive, telco, financial services. There is a halo of trust around technology. And something that is particularly interesting is that trust has actually increased in 17 of the 26 markets we surveyed by a little bit. At the same time, trust in business in general is at 56%, trust in tech overall is at 78%. You can really see that there is this gap between trust in business and trust in tech. I want to call out 2 countries specifically on this slide. One of them is the US. So as you can see, trust in the US actually declined a little bit, not surprising kind of given the headlines from this year from the United States. And then trust in Germany, which I know matters probably to a lot of people here, trust in tech in Germany is at 68 points. So that's actually 10 points lower than the global average. So Germans actually, maybe not surprising to all of you in the audience, don't actually trust tech as much as the rest of the world does. However, it has not been all smooth sailing for the tech sector. So before we get into the data, I just wanted to start out with a few headlines from the past year. So as we see, from fear of AI taking over jobs to problems around protection of consumer data and privacy, the media has truly taken technology and the tech industry to task in 2018. We can really see why techlash has been one of the most prominent words of 2018. So now let's look at some of the findings that support these headlines. So I think this is really interesting. Trust in tech subsectors, whether it's AI, blockchain, artificial intelligence, actually is significantly lower than trust in tech overall. For example, trust in self-driving vehicles, over 20 points lower than trust in tech overall. And why is this? Well, I personally think it's because there's a lack of understanding about what these technologies actually mean. Technology, yes, it's a great word. It's your iPhone. It stands up here. What is blockchain? What is AI? There's a lack of understanding among the general public of these technologies. Fear of job loss due to technology also remains high. People fear they don't have the training and skills necessary to get a good paying job, and they worry about automation and other innovations taking their job away. I also think this slide is very important. Many feel left behind by the pace of innovation. 47% of people say they believe that technological innovations are happening too quickly and are leading to changes for people that are not good for people like me. This is a pretty scary stat. People usually really liked innovation. They thought it was positive. It leads to beneficial things in their life. But now they're scared by it. They think it leads to job loss. They think it leads to them not having the same future that they thought they would. And then I just want to really highlight this slide, which shows that 14 of the 26 markets we surveyed, the majority of the mass population do not believe they will be better off in 5 years than they are today. And this is a pretty scary stat if you think about it. People don't believe their future is going to be better than today. And this is particularly true in the developed world. So US, UK, France, Germany, none of these countries, the people don't believe that their future is going to be better than their present or their past. It's pretty scary stats here. But it's not all gloom and doom. There is a reason that the tagline for DLD this year is optimism and courage. So we believe there is a clear mandate for tech companies to play a bigger role in society. So the majority of people agree that tech companies should do more to help educate and help the education system keep up with the skills people are going to need in the future. People want tech companies to step in and help on this. This is a real opportunity that technology companies should take advantage of. In addition, the majority of people believe that companies can take specific actions to increase profits and also better their communities, better both the economic and social conditions of the communities in which they operate. And this particularly spoke to me as somebody that lives in San Francisco, because often technology companies, they have their campuses outside the city, very far removed from what's going on in San Francisco proper. So this is a clear kind of license for tech companies to start investing where they are. And then finally, the majority of people agree that CEOs should be leading on change. 76% of people say that CEOs should take the lead on change rather than waiting for government to impose it. And this is up 11 points from the past year. Particularly interesting, people actually think that CEOs have the license to make change on an array of different issues. So these include issues like equal pay. It also includes issues related to technology, such as training for the jobs of tomorrow and protection of personal data. So people really want CEOs to be out there leading at the front. So of course, it wouldn't be a presentation from a communications professional without a little bit about communication, so you'll have to bear with me for a couple slides. So first, it's really important when you communicate to the public in order to engender trust that you use trusted channels. So when we actually did a survey this year of media, we didn't just say trust in media. We looked at trust in search, in traditional media, and in social media. And what we found is that trust in search and trust in traditional media is high across the board. However, trust in social media is actually 30 points lower. It's in the mid-30s in Europe and the US and Canada. So social media, yes, of course, it's important, but also think about traditional media channels and think about how to optimize for search when you're telling your story. And then something else that's incredibly important is to activate trusted voices to speak on your behalf. So we asked a question, who is the most trusted source to speak on behalf of your company? And what we found is that a company's technical expert and an academic expert are the most trusted sources. This is followed by a person like yourself and a regular employee. Regular employees actually can be activated to speak on behalf of their companies. They can be a great advocate. And then I just wanted to quickly highlight for this room, and maybe it's not as relevant other places, but a successful entrepreneur is also very credible to talk about his or her company. So for all you entrepreneurs in the room, keep talking about what you're doing because you also are a very trusted source. So I just want to conclude with what we think are 5 key imperatives to build trust. So the first is to facilitate training and skills development, both for your own workforce and then also potentially for the workforce of the future. Second is to provide opportunities for employees, in particular to speak on your behalf. They can be your best advocates. Third is that CEOs should lead on positive change. CEOs should be in the front, talking about what they're doing and leading, showing through actions and also demonstrating through making commitments. Fourth invest to better the communities you operate in. And then fifth, be open and transparent. It's important to talk about what you're doing so you can showcase all the good that you're doing in the world. Thank you.